The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
Some Pharisees approached Jesus, and to test him they said, "Is it against the law for a man to divorce his wife on any pretext whatever?" He answered, "Have you not read that the Creator from the beginning made them male and female, and that he said, 'This is why a man must leave father and mother, cling to his wife, and the two become one body. And they are no longer two, therefore, but one body. So then, what God has united, man must not divide.' They said to him, 'Then why did Moses command that a writ of dismissal should be given in cases of divorce?' 'It was because you were so unteachable,' he said, 'that Moses allowed you to divorce your wife. But it was not like this from the beginning. Now I say this to you, the man who divorces his wife, and I'm not speaking of fornication, and marries another, is guilty of adultery.' The disciples said to him, 'If that is how things are between husband and wife, it is not advisable to marry.' But he replied, 'It is not everyone who can accept what I have said, but only those to whom it is granted. There are eunuchs born that way from the mother's womb. There are eunuchs made so by men, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves that way for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can believe.'" The Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. Today's Gospel, we see how the Pharisees wanted to test Jesus on whether divorce in marriage is permitted. God referred them to the book of Genesis, of where when God created man and woman, he had intended them to be husband and wife and to be united for life. But then as for Moses, he issued a concession of divorce because Jesus said they were unteachable because of their hardness of heart and because of their infidelity. But that this concession was not the original intention and will of God the Father. Jesus then went on to explain and endorse that truly marriage is a vocation, and that there are also others who are called to live a life of celibacy in the service of God's kingdom. When a marriage breaks up, we hear from testimonies that is truly traumatic. In the book Life on Age, we hear of a Russian woman who said that when she got divorced, when her husband left her after a few years of marriage, the unfaithfulness, the abandonment, the rejection, and the loss was more traumatic than her deprivation that she experienced in the Nazi concentration camp. We heard of others who testify and says that after bearing 3 or 4 children for my husband, he leaves me for another woman. I've given up my career, a promising career. I'm now left with hardly any money. I'm not employable. And my children follow the father because he has the means to support them in education and their living. When the divorce happens, it is the children who suffers most. They're young and vulnerable. And the pain and the hurt and the disillusionment of family and married life, confusion can last for a lifetime. Psychologists, if you ask them, a psychologist once said that when he had counseled so many married couples for so many years, he says, there are certain values that are essential in married life. There must first be mutual respect between the husband and the wife. They must value their marriage as important. There must be openness and sincerity in their talk. There must be compromise. And most of all, there must be common values. And for this, the gospel tells us that regardless of the challenges we face, and we are sure to face them, and have to carry the crosses in our vocation, whether it is the married vocation or the priesthood and religious life, the crosses will be there. But our vocation is to be built on Christ. Unless we build and put God at the center of our lives, instead of our own will and whims, which are changeable and weak, as sinful person, our vocation will not really be able to grow. Relationships too, when we face conflicts, to give in because of our pride or whatever the reasons, it is virtually impossible to reconcile. Unless we recognize that at the center of the vocation or at the center of the married commitment and family is really God. We need to return to God, be humble enough to accept the mercy of God, to ask for forgiveness, to beg God for that strength to persevere and remain faithful. Infidelity will never bring any peace and fulfillment in life. Whatever the vocation is, the only way to live that meaningful, fulfilling life is to be grounded in God, to live that discerning life of putting God at the center of everything, and to carry the cross when it comes, and to be faithful to Christ in all situations. Regardless of the challenges, we are called to witness to the sanctity of the vocation in marriage, in the priesthood and religious life. God must be the center. God must be the good news, and we are called to witness to that good news of the vocation regardless of who we are.